Welcome to session 4 of Integration of Social Studies Concepts. This video will serve as a class meeting for this evening. So for this evening, again, we're going to start with this class meeting. Also included in the class meeting, I wanted to give a little bit of feedback related to your field trips. We will, for the lecture portion of this evening, we're going to talk about layered texts inside of social studies classrooms, as well as the use of technology to foster social studies instruction. So I always like to begin these class meetings with things to keep on your radar. You'll notice there is a strike through where it says discussion board workshop submission. I was reviewing all of the things that are on your plate right now as far as some of the things we're about to talk about. And for this evening's work, I decided to pull out the discussion board or class workshop portion of what we were doing for tonight. Again, I'm trying to respect your time and everything you have to do as a learner. And so I just think it's a good decision that you have other things with this that you'll need to do. However, you have to complete the videos for this evening, and they will lend themselves, you'll find, to answering your interview questions that will take place the last night of class. You do have chapter readings and quizzes. You are to continue to complete those virtual field experiences. I hope you are finding those videos valuable. You have this evening due that video strategy, your response, or not response, I'm sorry, your video strategy was due this evening, and your midterm engagement. Let's get into each of these a little bit further. And so again, you'll notice that you had the video strategy due to be posted to the discussion board this evening. In response, what I would like for you to do is to see the second portion of this assignment, which is for you to provide feedback to one other member of the course before the next session, before session 5. So you will simply reply, use the reply feature to give some feedback about the activity or the strategy provided. Let's look at a few of those interview questions. So in your syllabus, as you know, this is actually Module 4. I just realized that right here. These questions definitely will lend themselves to tonight's discussion. You are going to find number 1 specifically tailored for this evening. There will also be some things about heightening reading and writing inside of tonight. I could definitely see engagement being being supported tonight, and also just that overall view of what your social studies classroom looks like. You're going to find that inside of the video this evening. For your midterm engagement, you will have all of these quizzes due by the next time we are together, which is July 26th. For the midterm engagement, you don't have to submit anything, you just complete those quizzes. I will evaluate your completion via Canvas, and you'll get a score from that. Again, you do not, for your midterm, you don't have any additional information to submit. I realize the quizzes are heavy at the front part of our course. Please know, if you're feeling like this is a lot, the second portion of our course does not contain as many quizzes. It really lightens up on the quizzes after this. However, due to the content and the way the course is organized, it just fit for the quizzes that have been assigned to be the ones that we have to do up front. Let's talk about your field trip submission. You did a fantastic job. And so I wanted to give you some celebrations and some considerations with your field trip. So let's start, of course, with celebrations. I felt as though all of you presented organized field trip forms. They really replicated what I would see coming home in classrooms. They looked professional. They, again, communicated to parents in a way that they needed to. They were clear, they were concise. You had those stated why of going on that field trip, and your learning objectives appeared to be appropriate for the age and grade level. You gave intention behind that field trip. Here are some considerations for the field trip that I want you to think about in the future as far as real application. First, when it came to the rules, some of your rules were, I guess, not broad enough. I want you to think of things like bringing money. Is it appropriate for students to bring money? That's something that I want you to always think about when you go on a trip. What about bringing, and this is, many of you wrote to younger grades, and I understand that, but for intermediate grades, what about bringing cell phones? Believe it or not, many 3rd through 6th grade students have cell phones. What about bringing any other items with them? Do they have to wear their class t-shirt? Many of you included that again, but just think about it. I want you to think about this. When it came to the volunteer part, this was something that I think a lot of us are going to need to work just a little bit more on. That document that you have, and when you send that and you get those volunteer forms back, it's kind of a contract that the parents understand what is to be expected of them. So we have to be pretty clear on what those expectations are. So here are some things I just want you to think about. You may want to think about building into your parent volunteer things like no purchasing of items for students. That tends to be a big problem on field trips. And they don't know if these kids have allergies. Groups tend to get upset when they walk past a crew of children who have ice creams and treats purchased by the parents in the group, and they don't get those things. So it's important to think about, that it's a field trip. We're not on a shopping spree, or we'll eat lunch. We're not eating and having things there. Believe it or not, you will want to consider things like smoking and drinking from the parents. You may not think about this, but even like Grant's Farm, which one of you wrote to, there is a beer garden there. And unfortunately, I have actually been on a field trip where a parent went over to the beer garden and was going to consume alcohol on the field trip. And some parents, they just don't think through those things. Smoking has been a big problem years ago when I was a classroom teacher. You just kind of need to think about a few of those things that could happen. Making sure, unfortunately in today's world, one of the things you do have to make sure of is that those parents are not left alone with students, that they have to at all times be supervising children with another volunteer present. For the purposes of insurance, which a lot of people don't know this, parents are no longer allowed to ride the bus to or from the field trip. The other thing is they're not allowed to actually transport even their own children to or from the field trip. The reason for this, again, is for insurance purposes. And for example, if a student were to be in a car accident with their parent, Lord forbid, but if something were to happen and they are actually signed into school and registered in attendance, that causes all kinds of legal problems. So we ask always that they don't do that. Just a little heads up for the future. Something that I believe one of you did include this. I was so proud of you for thinking like this. It is a big problem when parents bring other children on the field trip, like younger siblings or children they babysit. I've had that happen before. So you might want to include something about bringing other children on the trip. Something that is very difficult but very important is when you are crafting these rules and when you're writing documents to parents about things that they should or shouldn't do, it's very important to have kind of a gentle tone to it where you get your point across, but you also come across as friendly and receptive to having those parents there. And not demanding. And it's a fine line, and it's a very difficult way to craft something. But I do want to make sure, I did want to make sure I shared with you all of this. So that was our class meeting video. To let you know, you will move on into your lecture video. I'm going to break it up a bit. Again, you do not have a workshop associated with session 4. However, everything we are about to discuss in session 4 will lend itself to some questions. Thank you.